Hello and welcome to the Green Machine. We're live. We're very late. We do apologise for coming on a few minutes late. Just a few technical snafus. You're very welcome. For those of you who wish to stay up to gloat about today's game. And speaking of which, let's talk about today's game.
Let's, Dave.
Well, actually, no. In fact. Do you know what, Nick? I'm going to make a stand here because we are an Irish podcast. What are we doing talking about the English Premier League? Let's focus on Irish football. So we're not going to mention anything to do with the English Premier League today. No? Okay.
Nah.
Well, I think what we did see today was the beauty of the Premier League, that even the small clubs get a victory every now and again, Nick, eh? 2-1.
It's a decent relegation battle. Very good relegation battle. Cracking game.
Yeah. Fucking hell. I mean, okay, look, before you start,
Start what?
I mean, it was actually a shame Martin isn't on today, even though he's probably fucking passed out in a ditch somewhere with his Alex Ferguson blow-up doll. Let's be honest here. Liverpool are missing 9 first-team regulars. And even then, United almost blew it at the end. Yeah. And Liverpool could have drawn. De Gea made a great save and whatnot. But come on, let's be honest. You'll probably release a DVD about it now, and there'll be a poster. And you can probably get like a signed Clive Tilsley thing about it somewhere. I'm sure that'll be on his commentary sheet. But it's a false
it's pure. It's pure propaganda, isn't it? I mean, it was watching Sky Sports. It's some people loved it. Some people loved this, but you had Ronaldo going over to Roy Keane, and didn't he blank Jamie Carragher and all this kind of thing, and that was kind of cool with Keane. And then Casemiro goes over to Keane. That's kind of cool. But then at the end of the fucking game, you've like Stormzy coming over and talking shite, basically saying this is our best game of the season.
Oh yeah,
so Stormzy actually said this is our best game of the season. Look, it's teams are always dangerous when they're kind of like a dying wasp in September, aren't they? And when they're on a losing streak like that, like United had to do something. I thought it was going to be like a 1-1 draw or something. I thought Liverpool were going to be vulnerable, but I thought they would. I thought they'd come away with a draw. I think there's still some, like from a United perspective. There's still so many glaring issues. Marcus Rashford was awful again tonight. And he's going to get away with that because he scored. But some of the things he was doing, so predictable, running into brick walls, very little end product about him. A couple of good runs, yeah, fair enough. But, I mean, Liverpool kind of allowed him to do that. I mean, Alexander-Arnold was awful, wasn't he? And then Bruno was awful. So, in the build to the first goal, he was excellent. But apart from that, the last minute where he just had to drive into the corner, and he whips it into Van Dijk. There's a lot of glaring issues. Very early for Liverpool. They're going to come back. I don't think it's going to be like, even I was listening to Andy Robertson after the game, and just the conviction he speaks with, and you can hear that belief that they're like, look, it's a blip, but we're going to come back. I mean, the difference listening to Andy Robertson after a loss and listening to someone like Harry Maguire after a loss is chalk and cheese. So no, look, but the thing is, Dave, the last few years, the last 5-6 seasons, if you lose one game in the Premier League, you could be out of the title race. That's just the way it is now.
Oh, Liverpool are by far out of a title race. Look, let's be honest here. Liverpool and we had a comment there from Graham Farrell. As a Liverpool fan, the outclass is no excuses, man. We were terrible. They were terrible. Look, 9 missing players. Milner well past it. Look at the midfield. I mean, Milner, Henderson, the other lad as well, the young fella.
Elliot was awful.
Elliot, Jesus Christ. We got a bit of a triage at the moment, a treatment room. And it's just like, Klopp came out and said it, didn't he? He says, we need a midfielder. And you do. Yeah. Absolutely do need a midfielder. Obviously, they've broken up the holy trinity of the front three. That had to happen at some stage. And, I did say to people, I thought we'd get a draw. And I did say it. I said, we'll get a draw here. Look, at the end of the day, this is a teething issue with Liverpool. And, the class is there. They will get going. United were at their lowest ebb. 4-0 hammering to Brentford, you know, people calling out this, that, and the other thing. It's a bit like when Ireland lost 5-2 to Cyprus.
Yeah.
Absolutely just like on the floor, you know, wanted for crimes against football, the wanted poster with the team photo shoot and all this kind of stuff. Couldn't get any worse. They played Czech Republic a few days later, and, you know, they played them off the park. So this is just temporary for United.
Yeah. It's the dying wasp thing, Dave. It's like Klopp said before the game. He said, I prefer that United beat Brentford 5-0 than lost 4-0 to them. So that's what happens. It's all about momentum, isn't it? And then, you know, sometimes when you're at a low ebb, that's when you're at your most dangerous, and it enforces changes. It enforces a bit of a kick up the hole, doesn't it? And you can see that. You can see the intensity.
Like,
but the only issue, Dave, again, I'm looking at a United perspective here, but there was still with all the intensity, there was still a sloppiness, and you have to be able to marry the two. And United didn't sustain that for 90 minutes at all. And people are wetting themselves after this. Like I'm quite negative when it comes to football, and I'm quite realistic as well. But, you know, listening to shite like Sky Sports, and they're raving about Rashford and they're raving about Bruno when they were really, really poor. You know, it's as you said, it's about Southampton. It's about the consistency. It's all well and good Marcus Rashford scoring a goal today, despite doing very little else. But if he's not doing that every week, then are we just going to go on about that Liverpool goal for the next couple of years? Probably. Well, Sky Sports will.
The real proof of the pudding for United is the week in, week out is doing against the Brentfords, you know, the Southamptons and all that. This is a cup final for Liverpool, for Man United. And I don't mean to sound that, or for that to sound like, you know, a Man United.
But that's where they are, Dave. That's where they are.
But it is a cup final. You know, the backs to the wall, the dying wasp. But you were saying they're coming out and they're giving us socks. Liverpool were a bit of a mess, you know. But this is for me. I think it's a false economy. I still think there's a lot of problems with United. Obviously, new player coming in, 60 million. Casemiro. It's not Casemiro. Casemiro. Sorry, guys. Very long day today. Casemiro coming in. You know, obviously they need him. 60 million is a bit desperate. Although it still could be a good sign. You get a couple of decent years out of him, I suppose. What's 60 million these days? So maybe it could give him a lift. But I do think there's a lot more deep-rooted issues.
It's all consistency, Dave. And I just can't, like, they weren't consistent. Like, people, I'm looking at Twitter and I'm looking at different bits and pieces. Maybe I'm a little bit too analytical with football, and maybe that takes a bit of enjoyment out of it. But they didn't sustain consistency for 90 minutes. And people will say, oh, they did. The intensity for 90 minutes. They didn't. The flatness after half an hour. It was so telling. It was so telling. And after about 75 minutes, I remember thinking, Liverpool are going to score 2 here. They got 1. Very unlucky not to get a second.
My mate made a comment, you know, there were bollocks to half time. United. I mean, mate, he's a Man City fan, used to be a Man United fan. He should remain nameless. He was like, well, they're not used to running.
well, the centre halves are getting cramps. They're all getting cramp. I mean, look, and as I said, I hate using this word, but the mentality and the character of some of those players, they don't have it they don't have that quality to keep that consistency going. As I said, I know I keep kind of bashing them, but Marcus Rashford, he gets away with absolute murder. And if it wasn't for that goal, we'd be talking again about how poor he was.
Yeah, but I mean, just look at some of the comments here, and do keep them coming in, by the way, guys. Graham Farrell. Trent has to be the worst fullback I've ever seen in my life. He's useless. He can't defend. I'm sick of watching goals come from his side. He learns nothing. He's shite. I picked him out as a player. I remember he's playing Hoffenheim in the Champions League qualifier, and I thought, this guy is the real deal. Look, going forward, he's amazing, but going back, and you're playing in, especially when you're playing in a team that's off form, you're going to get absolutely just exposed. And he does seem to lack in his defending, just the basic stuff. I'm a big fan of Trent, but
he's a midfielder. Like that's his natural position. He started off as a central midfielder, and he was converted into a right back. You're always going to have those issues.
I think as well. Also, you know, Klopp looks at it. You know, he likes to play positive football. I think, well, I get more from him. We score more to concede with him in the goals, but now when you're just conceding, it's not great. Just continue on with some of the comments here. Jason O'Neill, some win for United. All the hype is about United being in trouble. Mane was the key to all success. Hopefully they stay for the sake of the league, but it's crisis time here. I wonder who you support, Jason. Who is this guy? It's Nick. He's one of you. Louise McGrath Emmerich, delighted with the result. We needed that. Hoping it continues into the next match. 2 love hearts. I presume those 2 love hearts are for us, Louise. Thank you very much. Chris Earls, realistically, we were great for 30 minutes. Poole were so poor in all areas. United have a lot to prove. Bruno and Rashford offered very little passing sense. Same tonight. Malacia is a great signing, though.
Yeah, Malacia, he was excellent. Really, really good. And that's the type of character and the type of mentality that they needed. And he came in, he was excellent. I thought before the game, I was like, do you remember Evra and Vidic back in 2006 against City, their debut? Yeah. They got absolutely shredded. I was like, that's going to be Martinez and Malacia tonight. And they were both excellent. Excellent. Malacia is some player, but he's, he's a perfect example of the player that Ten Hag wanted. Ten Hag identified him when he was at Ajax. He just saw him play for Feyenoord and he said, that's the kind of player that I want in. And he got him, went out and got him. So rather than going out and getting all these crazy names, go and get the likes of him. And he understands the type of player he is. He understands the type of mentality. It's a risk, but it looks like it's going to pay off with him.
Absolutely. Alan Whitley, who are these fellas? Give them a job in RT. I tell you what, we'd be better than that other shite that's on the telly at the moment. Chris Earls, McTominay still hides from getting the ball. When the pressure came on, he didn't get in the ball or on the ball at all. Take the pressure off the team. Yeah. Jamie Mull. Fernandes had a decent game. Did a lot of work off the ball, but put a lot of pressure on Liverpool. Yeah, made mistakes, but don't agree that he was shite.
Apart from the build-up to the goal, yeah, he did a lot off the ball, as did all of them. But I mean, Jesus, like some of the decision making, there was one in the first half where instead of just passing it back to De Gea, he takes on 3 Liverpool players, gets intercepted, they fuck it up, and then the last minute, instead of driving into the corner, to run the clock down, he just passes the ball to Van Dijk. So no, his decision making was awful. He's another even after the Liverpool goal, he's on a yellow card. And he's there, trying to have a scrap at the Liverpool players. Those kind of things he needs to tease out, and he should. He should.
I would have loved to boot him in the fucking head when I was trying to get the ball off him. Graham Farrell, I'm analytical as well, mate. Problem is you couldn't see except for when Fernandes headed onto Varane. That went in. It would have been a different game. I think a bit of a personal volley going on there. Ian Armstrong, Liverpool fan, he's too exposed. Milner playing in front of him, no excuses for Trent, but that's what happens in that team system. It's one of those, isn't it, Ian? When they're playing well, he's always bombing forward. When you're in trouble and you've got players coming at you, like United did, to be fair, for the first few minutes. I missed the first couple of minutes, but I heard though, Nick, that United they could have been about 2 or 3 up. They absolutely battered them.
Yeah, it was just pure intensity. It's just pure intensity, yeah.
Yeah, that's why they tapered off towards the end.
That happens, yeah.
It does. Alan Whitty, you're giving the United player credit. Woohoo. Good man, Alan. I think Alan's...
I'm going to take it back now. I'm going to take it all back.
Couple of signings, Anthony, and hopefully another defender. Could be a good season for United. And McTominay was outstanding.
Yeah, he broke up the play very well. Sloppy, but he broke up the play extremely well.
Fernandes' decision-making is always a bit sus. And yeah, I remember him giving that stupid ball away, inviting pressure. But on the flip side, he was the one who started the high press.
Yeah, no, totally agree, Jamie. Yeah. As Jamie said earlier, off the ball, he was excellent. Just a few critical things. Like you can't lose the ball, just outside your box. You can't do things like that. But yeah, the pressing, there was a few where he did the opposite. He actually won the ball in United's final third against the Liverpool defenders. So no, he's a mixed game for Fernandes, but he has to tease out the usual problems.
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of there's a lot of good feelings now around Old Trafford. Fair enough.
Really,
but let's have a look at the broader issue. And by the way, you guys watching this on the live stream, let's have your say. You can say whatever you want. If some of you guys are only new to this podcast, the way it works is say what you want. You got the comments there, and we'll go through your comments. So, see what you make of it. But let's talk about United though as a whole. Okay, good win tonight, fair enough, against a really bad Liverpool team, with a lot of holes in it and a lot of players off injured. But United as a whole though, they are a bit of a mess though, aren't they? The way they're run at the moment. I mean, I saw that you shared a clip in the WhatsApp group. There's a bit of violence going about the city centre, a few protests against the Glazers. But I mean, but they're running the club at the moment. I mean, it just struck me. It annoyed me even as a Liverpool fan. It really just boiled my piss just seeing. I hate seeing things run badly, even if it's Man United. But this kind of stuff going on of last season when they got rid of Ollie and they got Ronaldo in, and then it was getting in. They were getting in the godfather of the gangman press.
Rangnick,
Ralph Rangnick. He invented the press that Klopp uses, even though
Jack Charlton actually.
Jack Charlton was doing in 1986. And he was actually hitting into the corners and whatnot for young listeners. He's coming in. He's the interim manager, which is always a problem because when you're interim manager and you're dealing with players who have a shit attitude like United had and still have with a few, and you're like trying to boss them around and get them to straighten up their socks. And you're like, well, I've got a 5-year contract, mate. You've only got the end of the season. And he's supposed to be staying on as this
director of football or consultant.
And then you get, and he's supposed to keep the chair warm and sort of have a look at the club from the inside out, which makes sense on paper. Then you get in Ten Hag and you're thinking, right, these guys are going to talk to each other. Then Ten Hag comes out and says, no, I haven't spoken to him. You go, no, you're being a bit coy there, lads. Yeah. And then, no, they actually haven't, because then Rangnick comes out and says the team needs open heart surgery, which he's right, by the way. Then he's off to Austria as manager, and then Ten Hag comes in and basically doesn't get really any players that he wants.
Yeah.
And then, there's talk of getting an Nautovic in, and then the fans kick off, rightly so. And then all of a sudden, the Nautovic is on the back burner. And you're just like, fucking hell, like, what's going on? Now, you've paid £60 million for a player that you do need. And I do understand that with United being in the current situation that they're in, they're not going to get the top players. They're going to, because players are looking at that going, that club's a bit of a mess at the moment. So you need to overpay. You need a few cute signings like Ericsson and all that.
Yeah. There's so many layers to it. And I mean, United and everyone, I mean, there's a lot of, I'm not being bad, like I'm not trying to be smart, like there's a lot of Liverpool fans and fans of rival clubs who are coming out saying, oh well, they're spending the money. But the thing with the Glazers, and this has been the case for a long time. You had Alex Ferguson in charge for a long time, and he was essentially a director of football. Like back in the day, Dave, you know yourself, a football manager. There was no directors of football. There was a football manager, and they ran the club from the top to the bottom. It wasn't just on the pitch. That is completely changed in the last 15 years or so. United never had a director of football. Still, essentially, I don't feel that they do at all. So Ferguson did fill that void even when the club was being ran badly. He was able to attract players. He was able to get players in. If you look at the last decade, players don't want to go to Manchester. Never mind the club. They don't want to go to Manchester. If they're going to go to Manchester, they want to play for Pep. They'll go to London to play for Spurs or Chelsea or Arsenal. Or they'll go to Klopp. If they're gonna go up to Liverpool or Manchester, around that area, they're gonna play for City or Liverpool. They want it to be worth their while, unless it's crazy money like what Casemiro's getting, what the likes of Sanchez got, what the likes of Di Maria got. Those kind of lads. So there's so many fundamental issues that a lot of opposition fans don't really understand. And as I said, with Casemiro, it is typical of the Glazers in the last couple of years being completely reactive as opposed to proactive. Same with Ronaldo last year.
What is it though? Since Ferguson's gone, we're buying these has-been players like Ronaldo. Okay, he's still great, but he's a has-been, and anything's been detrimental to the younger players, and some of them have shrunk. They've shirked under him.
Yeah. The thing is, Dave, like it's a very vast fan base. You have your locals, you have a lot of Irish fans who would understand the club, who would have followed the club for a long time. But you also have this new wave of fans, and this is no disrespect, because they're more than entitled to. You've always had your kind of Japanese, Korean, Chinese kind of fan base, but now you've an even broader fan base from abroad, who would be more interested in the brand representation or a big name as opposed to a smart name. And that's what sells jerseys. That's what gets money into the club. Essentially, that's where the big numbers of fans are, and they want your big marquee signing. Where a United fan, like a local United fan, or someone who's following the club a long time, they know that someone like, I don't know, Moise Caicedo, who plays for Brighton, they know that someone like him would have been a really smart signing, a really shrewd signing. Where a fan who's more into the, the social media side of things and more into the branding side of things will say, Casemiro, that's great. I'm going to buy his shirt, all that kind of stuff. It's been going on for years. I mean, it's been going on even during Ferguson's time, but
yeah,
there's so many factors to it, Dave. Like we don't have enough time to discuss it.
No.
The big issue is the amount of money that they're taking out of the club and that they're being so reactive. Because yes, they are paying this crazy money and they are getting these names, but is it pointing the team in the right direction? Casemiro is an excellent player, but he's never played in the Premier League. I think he'll do just fine, but I don't think he's going to be a standout player. Who knows? He could do excellently. But I mean, but I mean, if you're running a football club properly and you're saying, and let's say Ten Hag says, okay, I need to get Casemiro, a proper director of football or a proper I suppose running of the club would say, okay, we'll get Casemiro, but we'll also get a young lad in with him who will challenge him and maybe learn a bit from him and maybe play a little bit in tandem with him. Or maybe keep the likes of James Garner, who'll probably learn a bit off him. Instead, it looks like they're going to sell him. So there's so many football decisions that are going wrong. And really what they should have done was they should have said, look, we're going to get Ten Hag in and we're going to bring in Van der Sar alongside with them. And we're going to give them a checkbook and we're going to let them run the club.
So you brought in Steve McLaren.
Well, Steve McLaren is more of a coach, but I mean, Van der Sar would be more kind of the, more of the director of football side. There's a guy called Paul Mitchell who's Manchester born, and he was looking after the recruitment at Spurs, and he was looking after the recruitment with the Red Bull clubs. And Ranić wanted him in, and apparently he'd no interest because he didn't want to get involved. So you need proper football people running it. Where now it's the lads at the commercial and the corporate side who are making the football decisions. And to be honest, it's like they play a load of FIFA and they don't actually understand football.
I mean, it's like we'll get into the comments. We've a load of comments coming in. Do keep them coming in, by the way. Say what you want. It was like when NSEB bought New England Sports Ventures, bought Liverpool. They didn't have a clue what they were doing. Andy Carroll for 35 million and Stuart Downing and all this. But as each passing window went by, they got better and better. Before you knew it, they were getting players. You would have the Sky Sports lads outside, and they'd be like, we're signing off here, lads, at 7 o'clock. Everyone packed up at 5. Business was done. And you see all the other clubs scrambling. There are a lot of problems at United, all right. And
I haven't even touched the iceberg there, Dave. That's only a fraction of what's going wrong.
Oh, yes. Right, let's have a look at some of the comments, guys. Thank you very much. And also thank you again for staying up late with us. I'm sure some of you guys have been on the lemonades celebrating. Where were we? Alan Whitty. Will Shaw and Maguire be sold? Well, I think if you want to win things again, what do you reckon, Nick? I think they need to be gone, eh?
Maguire could. Yeah, I don't think Shaw will. I think Shaw will probably stay. Maguire's a strange one. I mean, look, they're saying they're going to block a deal. Sorry, say again?
What, they're going to block a deal?
Well, that's the talk at the moment. I mean, I don't know. They're not going to get 80 million from. I tell you that. Like, if they're going to swap him, with Pulisic, I can see United actually wanting to do that deal. I'm not saying it's a good one, but it's probably shrewd in their mind.
That's incredible because, like, I mean, you had Pogba, right? You got him for 80 million. Ferguson got him. Let's be honest with Paul Pogba. I've said it, right? He does well in Italy. He does well for France. Why? Because you have as much time in the ball as you possibly can have, right? In Italy, it's a slower game. In the Premier League, you don't get a minute to think. It's just on you all the time. Pogba doesn't like that. And that's why Ferguson got rid of him. You get him in for 80 million or 100 million, whatever he was. And then you're offering him, he said, what's it he said? He said 300 grand. They offered me 300 grand. It's nothing. I'm thinking, right, first of all, you're a dickhead for saying 300 grand is nothing. Second of all, why are you offering him a contract? He needs to be gone. And I just think someone like Maguire, he can't pass. He's a last-ditch defender, maybe in the Championship somewhere, but I think that would be...
He's too slow. Like, it's all high lines in the Premier League now, and he's too slow. Like, Martinez, people are talking about the height issue. Like, I don't completely buy into that. He was excellent tonight. Varane is just a Rolls-Royce defender, but has, he's not going to play every game. So, I don't think they'll sell either of them, to be honest. They won't sell Shaw. They won't sell Shaw. Like, they still need a bit of cover there. But Maguire, no, I can't see him going. He might, though, if they do the Pulisic thing I think United be naive enough to do that, but could end up being a good deal. Who knows?
I would just cut my losses. Ian Armstrong, no cover, lacking midfield. Realistically, Liverpool need to refresh. 8 first-team players over 30. Too many people talking about United panic buying older players. Liverpool really need to refresh big time. Totally agree there, Ian. The front three had to be broken up at some stage. So, they're all in their late 20s, early 30s. So you're spot on. I think that's going to be the teething, United is a perfect example. Getting rid of Ince, Kanchelskis, McClare, Bruce, all these players, and you brought in the Neville's, you brought in Beckham, Keane replaced into midfield. People thought Fergie was crazy, but they went on to have success. So yeah, totally agree there. I do think this is a very pivotal moment for Liverpool right now, and every manager, every dynasty comes across this. United, Ferguson came across it every time, and he always managed to refresh and rebuild. He was a master at it. Did it so many times. Don't know anyone who's did it as many times as he did. So I think we're in a bit of a refresh here, and this is very, very important, because a couple of bad decisions can set you back. All that good work just undone. Just ask Graham Souness. Graham Farrell, Ten Hag with his Klopp tonight, but also we had massive players out with injury and suspension. It's true again. Fernandes does me head and just moans for 90 minutes.
Yeah, he's embarrassing at times. Yeah.
David Quinn, no doubt United need to be a lot better on the ball, but it's early days. It was refreshing to see the work rate for the first time in yonks. McTominay, Fernandes and others were sloppy at times, but the efforts off the ball were enough to get us over the line. Obviously, Liverpool were on the strength, but to start, and always great to beat that shower.
Yeah, step by step. Step by step,
indeed. Jamie Mull, need to get the Glazers out. Graham Farrell, Big Jack invented that. Yes, he's talking about the press. And Jamie Mull, Charlton, the grandfather of the gang and press. Love it. It's true. It is true. Honest to God, it is true. It's probably a little bit more crude, shall we say. It wasn't as refined. It was just hit it into the opposite corner, give them the ball. If you give it away and you just harry them into making a mistake and play the football around her, but it's the same system. And I'm with you. That Milner was nearly as bad. Bad news of that fella. He had a right go, didn't he, with Van
Dijk? Yeah, he was whinging a bit throughout the game, but look, that's a competitive nature, isn't it? Just Fernandes takes it to a different level, an embarrassing level.
I mean, Milner is a born winner. He's won everything in the domestic game, to be fair to him. Graham Farrell, he's not in the referee's ear as much as Fernandes is, though.
No,
That's true. Vince Leahy, Milner is a great pro, but at this stage, he should be putting out the cones for training. Trent should be moved into midfield. United wanted it more and looked like they have a stronger squad. We touched on it earlier on. I do agree there, Vince. Milner, he's a great pro. You want him around. He is one of the moral compasses at the team, along with Jordan Henderson. To be fair, both teetotal. You never hear about anything about them off the pitch, but he shouldn't be starting in that game. Fabinho should have been playing. But anyway, Ian Armstrong, why is everyone screaming for Glazers out? They have done nothing but invest. Manager has had the final say, and yet it's the owner's fault, and they have thrown money at each and every manager, but yet the players have failed. And why? Because the players are overpaid, looking for the last big paycheck, and don't care if they win or lose. The likes of Ronaldo and Messi created this problem that now has the oil bar and all clubs firing money out. As simple, shut the fans up.
But here's the thing, they're sanctioning those moves. They're not the right moves. Sanchez, Di Maria, all those lads, not the right moves. So they're sanctioning those moves, and they're running the club incorrectly. If the Glazers had a director of football, or if they have proper football people in there, they wouldn't be signing those kind of players. If you look at Liverpool, look at the players that they signed in the last few years. Robertson, Wijnaldum, lads who've been relegated. They're shrewd signings, smart signings. They're not costing an arm and a leg. There's so much, and the money that the Glazers are taking out of United is terrifying. Yeah, it's terrifying. So there's so many fundamental issues. As I said, I didn't even hit the tip of the iceberg. No. There's so many issues. So it's a lot more than just look. They spend the money. It's reactive, and they're spending it the wrong way. I mean, simple as that.
Falcao.
It was the same last year with Ronaldo. All the shit was kicking off, and then they go and sign Ronaldo, and they expect people to shut up. No one ever shut up. The thing is, like, even if you look at Sky Sports, they weren't covering anything outside the ground. It's all you're going to see it on is Twitter and different social media pages and that kind of thing. It's going to be a shit show at a lot of home games this season, and it's probably not going to get a huge amount of media coverage because they just don't want to.
No, and also as well with the Glazers, like all the money that goes in is taken out of the club. They are taking money out of the club to pay the debt off the club to buy the club, which is utterly ridiculous. Before they came in and bought United, they were on the stock market, and essentially they had no debt. It was a beautiful system. It ran itself. As I said, I like to see things work, even it is Man United. But also as well, I mean, the managers, David Moyes, after Alex Ferguson, never won a trophy. One trophy, Charity Shield. He had no right to be in that dressing room. Brought in mid-table talent like Fellaini, players like that.
Yeah. But again, the Glazers, he wanted Cruz, he wanted Bale, he wanted so many players that he didn't get.
But he did not have to. But that's the problem. Like, he was a mid-level manager. Like, he wants to play for Moyes. You know what, Klopp, you're going to play good football. Pep, you're going to play good football. Mourinho, you're like, oh, don't know about that. Moyes, you're going to play that kind of old school British style of football, which does great for a mid-table team like West Ham, although they're having a shit season so far. But not Man United. Sorry, shouldn't be playing a style. They should be playing swashbuckling attack football like under Fergie. Van Persie wanted to play for Fergie because of the football that he played, and he wanted to work with him. But anyway, there was him, there was Van Gaal, well past it. Mourinho, well past it. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Christ, I cannot.
Huggy.
Yeah, Solskjaer, not up to it. Ten Hag, well, Jack, the son of Jack Charlton. He came in, he didn't give a shit. He was interim, and then he left anyway. And now you have Ten Hag, so who knows? But yeah, really, really piss poor spending there. Jamie Mull, as we said, Ian, they've not invested anything in Armstrong. Haven't invested. Let's see what United have spent this year alone. Let's not even go back to the last year. They have spent over £1 billion in players, but it's not the Glazers' money. That's the problem. And that's
six. I think it was 600 million. 600 million of debt that they bought the club on. Look, I wouldn't call Casemiro investment. Like, excellent player, get a couple of seasons out of him, but I wouldn't call that investment.
It's a plaster.
Yeah.
Did
you see the pictures of them painting Old Trafford last week? That says it all. Like, the stadium's falling down.
Oh, geez. No, that's another one. The state, Carrington's a shithole because City moved out of there, don't they? They have a brand new place. They had the Cliff, Carrington, shared it with City. City now have a nice, lovely training ground. Yeah. United once is shit. Old Trafford, never been to it. I'd love to go to it. It's falling apart. It needs millions, hundreds of millions worth of investment. They haven't done anything like that. Jamie Mull, the money we spend on players, it might just comes out of the close profits. They've only taken money out.
Opposition fans need to actually do the bit of research before they start having a say in it, because the figures are there. It's very, very widely available. It's not as simple as, they went off and they bought Ronaldo, they went off and they bought Di Maria, they went off and bought Sanchez. No, it's all reactive as opposed to proactive. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of fundamental, systematic things that need to be fixed. Rather than that, it's a big cover up. It's a massive cover up.
I think it's. I don't know why United fans haven't gone after the Glade, like why they're not protesting. When Hicks and Gillette were in Liverpool, I remember going to Anfield, and after the Sunderland games, the last time, I haven't been to Anfield for a very long time, I must say. I remember I was there, and like Hicks and Gillette, they were protesting, they were staying after the police came in, had to get them out and all this kind of stuff. And he got rid of them, and he got Inensa, who are a lot better.
Probably because the Glazers are never there.
But I mean, Hicks and Gillette were never there either. But I just don't understand why United fans aren't. Is it because, like, let's be honest, the amount of tourists that are there, to United, to Old Trafford, to come all over the world, do they understand the situation?
Well, see, I did. This is again the whole commercial side. Like the modern day Manchester United fan compared to the traditional fan, they're going to look at Casemiro and Ronaldo and think this is the best thing that's ever happened to the club. And I know, like, I'm speaking a lot about Casemiro, like he's a good signing. It's just probably not the correct signing to address the issues. It's probably the correct signing to maybe get results over the next couple of years, but not to address the fundamental systematic issues. So, no, you're right though, Dave. And I saw something last week. It was I can't remember who put it out. It was definitely an Irish broadcaster, and they were, basically going on about the protests about the Glazers, and people were commenting saying, well, I have tickets to go over. Are you saying I shouldn't go over? And they were like, no, absolutely, go over and enjoy it, but just to let you know that this is the whole procedure. And I mean, they didn't empty the stadium. I mean, it's worked perfectly into their hands now. They got the result.
I actually, do you know what? In a weird way, and I'm not being funny when I say this, and we're going to go through the comments and move on to the boys in green stuff. I think for the longevity and the long-term health of the club, I think maybe tonight a win is a bad thing. Because with the club run the way it's run, with the people that are in charge of it, nothing, you have to get rid of them. Otherwise, that club will crumble. It will crumble. And I just think with those guys there, you need to get rid of them.
Well, there's a section of the fans who will forget about things tonight, and then there's a bigger section of the fans who this results, not that it's immaterial, they'll celebrate it,
but it would have kept the pressure on them if they had Liverpool had got the result.
But I think there is that bit of momentum now compared to previous years, where there is that section of the fans who will, as I said, they'll celebrate this result, but they won't let the Glazers forget how they feel.
Okay. Well, let's have a look at some of the comments. We're going to get through them very quickly, and then we're going to move on to the boys in green. Jamie Mull, the money they spend on players and wages come out of the club profits. They've only taken money out, not invested anything in.
Yeah, that's spot on. And any, as I said, any opposition fans, look it up for yourselves to see.
We've got Eamon here. The Glazers have not invested a penny of their own cash. All they have done is saddle a well-run, debt-free club with massive debt. Very, very true. Graham Farrell, as a Liverpool fan, they've been siphoning money out of United to fund the NFL team rebrand. You have no interest in running the club the way it should be run. Michael Foley, United till I die. Newcastle United, Michael, is it?
Sheffield United.
Sheffield United.
Drogheda United.
They actually have a mate who's a Sheffield United fan. Poor bastard. Eamon again. In 17 years, the Glazers have taken over $1 billion from the club, invested nothing. Ian Armstrong. So to say they haven't invested is ridiculous. So they have invested over so many years. Bullshit to say they haven't. Casemiro 70 plus wages. You
need to look at you need to read into it, Ian. It's not as black and white as you're making out. You need to actually do the research and look it up. And I'm not being funny saying that, but it's there to be seen. It's all there to be seen. So do the bit of research. It's not as, I know it sounds simple, and I know it should be simple, but unfortunately it's not. So it is worth doing a bit of research into.
All right, let's get through this. Michael Foley, Sel Maguire. Amen again. Ian Armstrong. BS, not their money. The club should not buy They could not buy the club now, as the way they bought it, leveraged buy out now is illegal. Probably
they wouldn't be allowed to buy it now.
No,
absolutely no way.
Back then, Martinez and you, Tony Johnson. I don't know who that is. Ronnie Johnson.
Ronnie Johnson.
Ronnie Johnson. Okay, he becomes Johnny. Johnson becomes Johnson. Eamon again. Keane played with into midfield in Novjaki. He didn't replace him.
Long term, he well, I didn't say it. Dave said it, but long term, he replaced him, didn't he?
Oh, okay. Well, actually, thanks for the comment there, Eamon. But I meant as the midfield leader. But anyway, yeah. And he went.
He played with him, but
he played with him. Obviously,
for once, Dave, I'm going to stand up for you. I'm going to stand up for you for once. Long term, he replaced Ince, but no, they did play together. So shame on you, Dave. Yeah. Do your research. Research, Dave.
I know they played together since Ince was signed from West Ham in the 80s, and fucking King came in 93. But he also played with Bobby. He also played with Brian Robson, didn't he? But they saw him as a long-term replacement for Brian Robson as well.
Dave, you're just a knob jockey, to be honest.
Yeah. Jamie Mull, great show tonight, lads. Fair play. Thanks for having a chat. No problem. And Ian saying good night. Michael Foley, Prawn Sandwich Brigade. Oh, totally. You were clueless. United fans been protesting with the Glazers and so far, me included. You just admitted you were never in Old Trafford, so clearly you don't know what you're talking about. Well, you never really see it, Eamon, to be fair. I mean, at least the Liverpool fans, they got loads of people behind, the celebs, the whole lot, and actually got them out. So
the day the Glazers took over, there were protests. Look at FC United, Manchester, like that popped up. Popped up straight away.
Did really well. It's done ever so well. Isn't it? 17 years later, and they're still there. They're still siphoning money. I know it won't continue.
Yeah.
But it was okay when Ferguson was winning trophies. No.
Why is he saying we haven't a clue though? We've acknowledged that they've been protesting for the last 17 years.
I know.
You can never win, Dave, but you are a knob jockey, Dave.
I know. You just admitted you were never in Old Trafford, yeah. Of course it did. I
thought you were. I thought you were in Old Trafford before, no?
Sadly not.
Oh.
Graham Farrell, I think it's papering over the cracks. and Greg Farrell again. He did when Ince went to Liverpool. Yay, there you go. Michael Foley, Glazers are loved in Tampa, total crux of Manchester. 94, Keenan Ince win the double. Yeah. Then what was it, 96 or 95? Ince goes to Inter Milan. Right, we'll move it on there. We'll go on to thank you, by the way, for your comments, including you, Eamon. Even though I am a knob jockey.
I agree, Eamon.
Classy Man United fans there. Right, let's move it on to our boys in green. Watch the numbers go right down. Right, so really going to be talking about the same players, aren't we, this week?
Yeah, it's a quiet one this week compared to last week, and it's the same lads who are just hitting form.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, obviously, it was the first game of the weekend, Wolves and Tottenham, and there he is. I mean, last week we were calling him Sparkling Collins. Wasn't, I mean, look, he had a good game, I know, but it was a terrible mistake he made, wasn't he? He was watching, he was caught ball watching, really, wasn't
he? It's just pure experience from Kane, isn't it? Just his movement is, zigzagging around, and there was a little bit of a deflection. He got done twice, actually. The first one, I think, just went wide. But no, he was excellent. Like he was all over Kane for the first half and most of the second half. But I mean, look, essentially it's his mistake that allows him in. But no, he was very good. He's still only 21. We have to remember, there's older defenders who can't cope with Harry Kane at all.
Yeah.
So we need to keep that in mind.
Absolutely. No, actually, forgot to mention somebody who was missing from the bench tonight, Caoimhín Kelleher. What did you make of Klopp having a go with Stephen Kenny again? Do you know that? I mean, look, I know Klopp gives this nice guy persona, but let's be honest, he's a winner and he doesn't like to lose. And I think
I'd have a few concerns, Dave, just around the Irish setup and the medical stuff. I mean, James McLean's another example, isn't he? I mean, he played when he shouldn't have, and I mean that ended up with him getting in a lot of trouble with Stoke, didn't it? So, I think there's always two sides to the story, isn't there? Like there has been a history with the Irish medical team and Premier League clubs and Championship clubs kind of falling out. So we don't know the full story. We don't know the full story. I'm not saying that the doctors are unprofessional, the medical staff are unprofessional, but there's probably not a very good means of communication between the clubs and the national team.
Could it be like a facilities thing? Like, I'm not having a go at the FAI or for once. But it could be a case of, look, Liverpool have, I'd imagine, being a Premier League, most of the Premier League clubs would have the absolute top-notch facilities going. Is that a case that maybe City or maybe Ireland just don't have the fucking,
I don't know,
the equipment or something, or is that being a bit?
I don't know. I think, look, I mean, Kelleher got injured and he could have gotten injured training with Liverpool, so it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, you could also argue that, he hadn't played in so many months, hadn't he not? And maybe that was a contributing factor. But I mean, it's the only game time he got. So no, I don't know. Look, it could happen anytime. I mean, if they get injured playing for the under 23s, are they going to have a go at the under 23 medical staff and that kind of thing? So it happened and that was it. But I mean, it is a recurrent theme. Think back to Ronald Koeman with the Everton lads and Coleman and McCarthy and Gibson. So, it does seem to be a bit of a theme. Now, the doctor has changed, hasn't he? Like the medical staff are changing over at the moment. So, I don't know if it's a communication thing. I don't think it's medical mispractice by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think that's an issue at all. But I think it is a bit of scapegoating, unfortunately.
Just looking through the list here as well. Shane Duffy, 1 minute in a 1-0 against Brentford. Not going to go through all the names here, but basically looking at the squad, if you want to get this full list of how the lads got on over the weekend, you got the squad and those we think are just outside the squad, just go on the Facebook page, Green Machine Facebook or Lansdowne Road, even on Twitter. We have it up there for a complete list. I'm sure you'll find some typo or some sort of mistake. I'm sure Eamon on the comments there, he'll be there now going through it fucking with a notepad and pen. Well, you spelled this wrong, you knob jockey. But looking here, Shane Duffy, bit worrying this week. Shane Duffy, 1 minute. I think he's played something like 4 minutes in total for Fulham this season. Seamus Coleman has not played any football at all for Everton this year. This season. And Stevens still out injured. James McLean still doing well at Wigan, by the way. Dara O'Shea.
Can I just say as well, Dave, like one guy who's flown under the radar a bit, and I'm just looking up a few match reports, Conor Hourihane apparently is doing very well with Derby. Now it's League 2, which isn't great, but I mean, you know, League 1, which isn't great.
Eamon's watching.
Yeah. Sorry, Eamon. League 1. Yeah, but I mean, Jason Nice there as well, isn't he? But I mean, look, apparently Hourihane's doing very well with Derby. So and he's you know, I know Knight is doing a job for them at right back, but you know, Hourihane's the one starting in midfield.
He cannot play in the Ireland team.
No, he's not mobile enough for international football, but he's doing all right. The thing with Duffy though, Dave, just to come back to him, I wouldn't be too concerned because I mean, I don't know if you saw the highlights of Omo Bamidele over the weekend, and Dara O'Shea over the weekend. Johnny Egan's doing excellently with Sheffield United. I think they're top of the championship, and then you've Collins as well. So. And just a little mention as well, Liam Scales is doing very well up in Aberdeen. So I'm not overly concerned about Duffy. I think Duffy, you know, a couple of years ago, we had a feeling that this would be an issue. We've spoken about how frantic he can be. He scores a lot of goals for us, doesn't he? But he can be frantic. I think he's been on the decline for a long time. Great servant, definitely has a role in the squad, but I wouldn't be overly concerned because we do have so much depth there.
I don't think I'd be starting him. Poor Cyrus Christie, still unattached, still has no club. He's only 29. Jesus.
Yeah, there was a couple of rumors there he was with Birmingham City on trial, and then there was a bit of a scrap during a training match or something, and they decided not to sign him. Disappointing. I saw Pelcast, if they're listening, Irish football blogs, they were saying why wouldn't he go to Shamrock Rovers? So, you know, you never know. League of Ireland, if worse comes, well, not if worse comes to worse, but you know, I think he's going to be staying in England. I think Swansea were looking at him. I think Coventry were looking at him too. His former clubs.
Like, he does well in the Championship. He's a good Championship player. Maybe not so good at international level, but you know, you'd have him in the squad. Like he
did very well for Swansea. Got a lot of assists for them, so yeah, he definitely has a role to play.
I think so. Jason Knight, 90 minutes in the 0-0 draw with Fleetwood Town. But apparently Fleetwood Town, actually, I think the owner of Fleetwood Town is now the owner of Waterford.
Yeah.
Stuck at Derby for now. They will not sell him. So he's stuck in League One playing right back, which I think is just dreadful. Josh Cullen playing for Burnley. The honeymoon period is over for them, as I did say before the season. Yet again, subbed on the 89th minute in a 3-3 with Blackpool. They have not won a game since that opening match, I don't think. Anyway, I'm sure Eamon will correct me.
No, I'm joking. No, that's right. Like, and they were 3-1 up as well, and they
exactly. And he's the holding midfielder, isn't he?
No, he's playing a little bit more advanced now. But yeah, it's disappointed for the Burnley lads because there's so many Irish there.
Yeah. Kyosi Ogbeni, 4 goals in 5 games, scored again on the weekend, 90 minutes in a 1-1 with QPR, fantastic stuff. Will Keane, 69 minutes. I actually put that he got a goal, which is not. No,
the week before he did the previous week. Just an Ogbeni there, Dave. I mean, I think is it Paul Warren, the manager, said that he's going to play as a centre forward now for the rest of the season rather than right wing back. So Stephen Kenny kind of had him there. He had him in a front 3, didn't he? And you kind of had to say, what's the striking combination going to be? It's going to be very, very interesting. If you think of Obafemi and Ogbeni up top, like that's a very, very very, very fast forward line, isn't it? But no, he's done very well. He's done excellently, Ogbeni.
And just to wrap up on the squad, Festi Ebeselli, unused sub in a 0-0 draw with Salernitana.
Yeah, and there was a load of stuff coming out that he was going to start. Like, I don't know where these things come from, but you know, all these pages on Twitter going, "Oh, apparently he's starting tonight," and it's like, you don't know that. Like he's like Udinese have after selling the full back to Spurs, haven't they? Like they're a decent squad, and it's not he's just because we are aware of what he can do and we are aware that he's very good, it doesn't mean that he's an automatic pick. So he's going to have to bide his time, but he will come in. He will do fine, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Just looking at the periphery, Matt Doherty, he wasn't in the last squad. Obviously, I'm sure he'll be in the next one. He's probably one of the best players. Unused sub again. 4 minutes of Premier League football so far, and they're doing really well in the Premier League at the moment. That's worrying. Mark McGuinness, I Didn't realise he went to Sheffield Wednesday. He played 90 minutes for Sheffield Wednesday League One. That was a very quiet one. That one. I actually missed out, and I hold my hands up. Eamon, if you're watching, I hold my hands up to that one.
No, jockey Dave.
I know I'm no jockey. Everyone seems to think so anyway. It was Gavin Kilkenny, 22, on loan at Stoke, 68 minutes and a 1-0 loss to Sunderland. Jamie McGrath on loan at Dundee United from Wigan, 45 minutes and a 3-0 loss against St Mirren. Robbie Brady, your pal, not at 90 minutes against Watford, and also had a very good game, didn't he?
Yeah, 5 Man of the Match awards in 5 games.
Are they Preston Man of the Match awards?
Voted for by me. No, look, he's like, if you look at his ratings and stuff, looked at a few clips of him. You saw the assist last week, the cross for the goal. Like, he's playing left wing back. I said years ago, Dave, that's probably his best position. That's where Ferguson wanted him to play, as a left wing back, and that's where Martin O'Neill had him playing for a long time, and he was doing very well there, left wing back. So, look, he's shown us what he can do. He's had to go down a level. He could have stayed with Bournemouth. He could have been, a little bit like Matt Doherty on the bench every week, not getting any minutes, but he's worked his way back to full fitness. He got that preseason under his belt. He's getting the games. He's getting the momentum. It's great to see, because he's very, very different to what we have.
He is indeed. Adam Ida didn't feature. He's injured, but he is back in training, so we'll be back. Aaron Connolly, 13 minutes and a 2-1 win over Sutrio. Suited. God knows how you pronounce that.
Need to get you Italian lessons, Dave.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. And history lessons as well, according to Eamon. And Colin Dowda, Martin's mate, he's not on, 90 minutes and 2-0 loss for Bristol. Oh, dear. Just looking at some of these comments coming in there. Michael Foley loves his country. Good man, Michael. We do too. Michael Foley again. Roy Keane was still God at Old Trafford tonight. Ronaldo still living him. I'd imagine that means loving him. Michael Foley again. Fucking auto spell love. Good. Graham Farrell. Yeah, Nate Dogg switched off for the winner. Nathan Collins. Goodell Kiozi got a go for Rotherham. I have to say we're in good shape, but as you say, can we not give decent reports back to close by fitness? It's not the first time close to known about it.
I think it's working both ways, to be completely fair about it. Because you don't hear it with too many other countries, do you? Unless we're just missing it because we're focusing so much in Ireland. But no, I think it's working both ways with that.
Yeah. Michael Foley, Sean Murphy doing great at Culture United. Culture United.
It's kind of gone over my head.
Yeah. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, Michael. It wouldn't take a lot to go over our head at the moment. Graham Farrell, shame poor Cyrus can't get a club. He is decent. He is very decent. Irish Football Blog. He is always here. Are you Irish Football Blog, Nick? And you just haven't told anybody. You're just moonlighting.
I did guess in them, but no, I'm not. I'm sorry to say. Yeah, Scott Sinclair, the lads were saying as well. Scott Sinclair and Cyrus Christie go to Rovers. Yeah,
did indeed.
Good shout. I remember years ago, Rohan Ricketts, really obscure one. He played for Arsenal and he played for Spurs. Played a couple of games for Spurs, and he ended up with Rovers. This was a good few years ago. I think it's when they were actually in the Europa League the last time they got in. Not that they're getting in this time, Jesus. But Rowan Ricketts, and I know, like, geez, Scott Sinclair had a much more established career than Rowan Ricketts, but it reminds me a little bit of that, tricky English winger going there.
Absolutely. Martin O'Neill was on Premier Sports over the weekend, and they were asked about the progress. But I don't know why they asked about the progress of Stephen Kenny as Ireland manager. I don't have Premier Sports. I don't live in Ireland anymore.
Yeah, I was watching this live.
So of course they asked Stephen Kenny. They asked about Stephen Kenny, and of course Martin O'Neill starts banging on about his own record, as always. But anyway, those haven't got about a minute clip here. Anyway, a minute and a half. So we're gonna play the clip here from Premier Sports over the weekend. Tell me what you think.
Give us a little bit of a taster then, Martin. What do you make of the progress that we're making under Stephen Kenny with the Ireland team?
Right, okay, well, my job was there to try and qualify for a competition. That's when I came in. First of all, that was it. Otherwise, the second contract would never have existed. So, if your time, if you're wanting to get time to go and build, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. If that's the remit there at the football club, then or at the association, please take that time if that's the case.
But you're not convinced that should be how it works? You think there should be more pressure on results? Is that the point?
International football is no different to anything else. It's about results. Always will be. Teams. We had a fantastic time. Shay was with us at the time, out in France in 2016, trying to emulate. Emulate's maybe too strong a word, but certainly trying to copy the great scenes that I used to see when Jack Charlton was in charge. It was absolutely fantastic. And coming back, not only the crowds out in the World Cup ventures, but then coming back to Dublin, it was absolutely fantastic. We had a really great time. Those are the sort of scenes that I believe that fans want to experience again. Not to turn around and say to some fan, "Oh, by the way, in 2032, we'll be heading somewhere." You can't happen. It has to be. I mean, you want to try and qualify for the competitions. That's what it's about. It's about competition.
I don't even know where to. Fucking hell. Graham Farrell, Martin O'Neill, biggest shyster ever. Him and Roy, two big ski bags. Yeah, okay, yeah, right. Fair enough. It is about qualifying. I get that, but there's also a process. And let's be honest, Martin O'Neill, he qualified us for Euro 2016, and we were very close to World Cup 2018. But let's be honest, he fell out with some players, and the whole thing was shit. Like, this is the thing with him, and I respect Martin O'Neill. He was a terrific manager during his day, but people forget with Martin O'Neill was that 2018 was appalling under Martin O'Neill. One win was against USA. The football was terrible. The Nations League, we never got a goal with him. He actually got us relegated.
Well, we got one goal, but we got hammered in that game.
Sorry, you're absolutely right. Yeah, against Wales, 4-1. Sorry, Eamon, if you're watching. I'm never letting that one go. But yeah, like, we got relegated when it was a 3-team group, and then they changed the format and he put us back into Pot B. He got us relegated there, and he left us in an absolute shit. And he's only giving players who debut at 28, 29. Poor Cyrus playing him in centre midfield. He's very selective with his memory.
Yeah, look, there's a couple of things on this. I mean, O'Neill had a much better squad than Stephen Kenny has, and he played absolutely rubbish football. And I think a big part of that was that he didn't, and I always say this, and a lot of people would always say this, he didn't have John Robertson with him, his assistant who was with him at Celtic and Villa. He had Roy Keane instead, and he's Steve Guppy. So, he wasted a huge opportunity there, I think, in 2018. We should have qualified automatically, I feel. We saw much momentum and we completely bottled it. And a lot of that was down to his style, and a lot of that was down to some of the players he was selecting. The amount of players, as you said, Dave, that he introduced in their late 20s, the amount of lads who should have way more caps than they do, and they don't, because he stuck with a lot of pure shite. Yeah, he never gave Matt Doherty a twist. He stuck with a lot of guys who he shouldn't have. So, like, he had a much better squad than Stephen Kenny. However, I do agree with the whole results end of things. I never liked Stephen Kenny's narrative saying, well, we're building for this and we're building for that. Like, as an Ireland fan, I know a lot of people will disagree, but as an Ireland fan, I was devastated that we weren't going to the World Cup this year. And it's probably the week. Like, I'm following Ireland about 25 years. No, not that long. Jesus, let's say 20, 22, 23 years, and this is the weakest team that I ever remember. And I've seen Ireland play badly, but they still have better players than we do now. We've some very good young players, and I think we're going to be an excellent team in about 10 years' time. But the manner in which that was written off was wrong, and you have to try and qualify for tournaments, and you have to get results. I never liked that narrative from Kenny, so I do think that O'Neill had a point there, and he is right. Fans want to see us going to tournaments. I don't want to be, it's going to be a pain in the hole sitting at home in December watching and supporting Portugal again. I'm sick of doing that.
I disagree. I think, yeah, you want to qualify, right? Obviously. However, when there's a rebuilding phase, and Irish football is quite unique in the state that it was in, and it was in a terrible state, and there was no process. The underage teams weren't matching up. They weren't playing. They would get to 21. They had Noel King in charge, and God knows what he was doing. And then you had Martin O'Neill doing what he was doing, and nothing made sense. Nothing matched up. And we were sort of qualified. Yeah, we qualified for year 2016. And we kind of got it on a wink and a nod and a hope and a prayer that we finished third in a playoff group for the first time ever. Third place got you a playoff. Any other thing before that? No, obviously you play with the rules that you've got, but I'm just, any other European Championship group, you wouldn't have got anywhere near that. Then we got out of the group because we beat like a half decent second string Italy team, and even the game against Wales and Cardiff, great result, but let's be honest, it was fucking hitting hope, and it was basically Ashley Williams made a mistake. We got the ball and McLean hit it first time, beautiful goal, but there was no strategy, there was no game plan. It was just throw as much shit at the wall.
They're very open about that. They're very open that there was no game plan, and it was poor. Now, as I said, I enjoyed a lot of O'Neill's tenure until it got very, very stale, and a lot of that was John Delaney's fault for extending his contract so quickly after doing the same with Trapattoni.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's more O'Neill's point about qualifying for tournaments and getting results that I agree with.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, with Irish football, because of him, and Mick came in, to be fair, and he had a year, and he was like, here's a year, just get us to the tournament. Just get us there. So we put him in, then we get Stephen Kenny to take it. Stephen Kenny's doing the work that should have been done a very long time ago. And, okay, you say Kenny shouldn't have written off the way he did, but I don't see what other... I was a bit surprised by everyone's reaction, this is terrible. I mean, what do people expect? We're doing.
Well, I didn't expect us to lose to Azerbaijan, to lose to Luxembourg at home, and to draw with Azerbaijan at home.
Fair enough, but you have days like that, and especially when you're trying something new and you're trying a whole new process of doing things completely different we haven't done before, and it is the correct way, and we're in the 21st century. Shit like that's going to happen, and people press the panic button. I got absolute dogs abuse on Lansdowne Road. When I was writing articles and supporting Man, even after Luxembourg, and I was getting annoyed, even before the Nations League, because he was making stupid mistakes and he wasn't learning from, which he obviously did with the last two games with selection and whatnot. But no, I wasn't that bothered with the World Cup, quite frankly. I have seen us play.
But do you not think O'Neill has a point by saying that's what the fans want to see, and those are the memories that they want to make?
I think that is, yeah. I just think that's cheap. I just think that's a soundbite. Fans want to see the days of Jack Charles. Yeah, well, because of mismanagement, because of people like him being hired, that's why we've had such a dearth of talent. That's why our teams haven't been great, and that's why we've missed out on a few tournaments. You look at the likes of Steve Staunton, never should have been anywhere near the job. Brian Kerr made a complete balls of it, and he had a great team. Brian Kerr did, by the way. Stan after that. Trap got us to 2012, fair enough, but when we got to, we did nothing. It's just I want an Ireland team, right? And I know Martin, and I don't need to speak for Martin, but I think Martin did, and he'll come on the next week if I'm wrong. But I want to see an Ireland team compete in the qualifiers, do it in style, where I'm not sitting there bored, because football's entertainment at the end of the day, and I want to see them go to tournaments year after year, and I want to see them compete, Nick. I want to see them. I don't want this shit of, well, we'll get a compact 11, we'll announce the team a week before the next match, is what Trapattoni actually did during Euro 2012. And we'll put Cyrus Christie in midfield. He's never played there. We'll lash that in. We'll see if fucking that might work. Yeah, great. No, I want to see us play a style of football, have a DNA, have a pattern, be able to play our own stuff and, not be compared to a British football team and go and compete at these tournaments and actually, have a system where we can qualify every other, for every tournament. Because under the way O'Neill was doing it, it wasn't going to happen. It was on a wing and a prayer. So we want to see people do it, but you want to see people do it consistently, and you want to see people do it with style. And he was not doing it with style. And he should have gone, but his heart was out of job. People criticised him, rightfully so, after the capitulation of Denmark. So he made a load of mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's
I'm not. As I said, I'm not pro O'Neill whatsoever.
No,
brought great memories, but what I mean, I agree to an extent with his point too.
But it's not as simple as that. It's not that straightforward, and that's what pisses me off. And he's glossing over
that squad. I know we're very positive about this squad, as am I, and it's a very young squad. Like we forget how young some of these lads are. They're all 20, 21 and stuff. That squad was probably never going to go to the World Cup, but it's the manner in which Kenny, kind of dismissed it that was really disappointing. And I think part of that was him taking a bit of pressure off himself, saying, "Oh well, if I take this slant, then people will see what I'm trying to do." And it wasn't the right thing to do. But look, we are where we are at the moment.
Yeah, we are. We're going to take a few comments on this, and we're going to move on to the social watch. Graham Farrell, his football was muck. O'Neill. Roy goes on about wanting to play a certain way. If you ever listen to him talking about Johnny Walters having personal problems, etc., Martin's football was the worst we've had ever. Only for James McLean, Cardiff, Vienna, and Walters in Dublin, the Euro playoffs, and then Keane digging Walters out. I love what Stephen Kenny's trying to do, but it's a process. Every country does it. And then Graham continues, what I love about the Kenny era now is the under-21s are actually progressing, and he's trying to bring them through, and he's actually trying to play a brand of football that's completely different to what Big Jack started.
You never would have had young lads coming through under O'Neill, and same with Trapattoni. It was, Steve Staunton was actually the last manager to bring through young players.
Stan had the right idea, but unfortunately he was the wrong person to implement it. Get as many young players, widen that, that net. That's, Joe Lapierre, right? That was a joke, but I liked what he was trying to do. Get as many people with the Irish diaspora involved and get that playing pool. But you brought too many players in. It was a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
And also he just shouldn't be managing. But no, I agree with Graham. Look, it is a process. I believe in the process. A couple of times I've been like, for fuck's sakes, this is doing my head in because of certain mistakes with personnel. It's all there, folks. It's all through the page. You want to find it, but I believe in the process. Right. Let's move this on to social media and let's get out of here. Actually, you feature on this episode of Media Watch. God bless you. You just love 2002, Nick, don't you? So here's a very own Nick puts this picture up of this jersey, which I have seen actually, but I always thought Nick always wore it. But anyway, on the 18th of August, Nick for the Green Machine goes, Ireland's blue third kit in 2002 that was said to be intended to be worn in the World Cup against Saudi Arabia if both their home and away kits were deemed a clash with both of Ireland's. And he has a little emoji with a picture going.
I heard this information from a lot of. There's a guy called Barry Rojak. I don't know if he's listening. Met him at Kick On Era, and he's kind of a football history guru. And he actually told me this story as he was trying to sell me the shirt. and I was like, Jesus, I was like, that's pretty cool. And then within a week, like nothing related to that event, but within a week, I'd heard and seen the exact same story a couple of times. So that's
right. That's
where I was
expensive. And that's what we all thought. But wait. That's right. The Shirt Police. If you were a naughty boy and you needed the intervention of the law of the shirt. John Courtney. Nick, that was never going to be the case. Vis-a-vis, God, I haven't heard that one for a while. Saudi Arabia, but what a shirt. Shamak emoji and a thumbs up. So Nick goes, what's the story behind it? John, no story behind it, Nick. Just a third shirt that was unlikely to be needed, but nothing to do with Saudi. In fact, I think it only came out around September after the World Cup. And then Nick goes, nice over legend, all the same. Don't you ever spread lies about John Courtney shirt again. You are Martin. Ever. God bless you, John. Actually, he was at it again, wasn't he? He was he put this. I had to laugh at this one. A thing of rare beauty. Only 20 were made. This jersey was never released. Right, as the goalkeeper jersey that Queven Gallagher wore in a game against Qatar. Isn't that right, Eamon? If you're still watching. Want to make sure I get that right. So a little bit, a thing of rare beauty. Only 20 were made. The jersey was never released. Why didn't you release the jersey then? Like, I have to laugh Irish football sometimes. I have to laugh. We love Irish football, folks, when you're watching this out there. But you have the guy who designs the jerseys, sells the jerseys, makes the jerseys, distributes the jerseys, bragging in a tweet, here's a lovely jersey. We never released it.
Yeah. And I wonder who has all 20 of them.
St. Martin has a few. Oh, no, he only has counterfeit jerseys, doesn't he?
Allegedly,
yeah. It's just like, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, it's pure Irish football.
It is really. And just remember, folks, when you're looking for your Irish football shirt and you're in Dublin Airport, tough. Because you can't get them. You can only get them in Elbreys, and we don't have Elbreys in an airport. There you go. Nick, we're going to wrap it up there. We're going to do a bit of housekeeping. We're going to have a look at a few of our... Oh, actually, wait, before I go to something you want to talk about. Folks, if you like our podcast, even you, Eamon, if you're watching, you can vote for us on the irishpodcastawards.ie. It's an open vote. You just need to give me your email address. Don't worry, you won't be sold anything about... I don't know, Viagra or something like that. I get those things. I don't need that, actually, to be fair. I'm already a knob jockey, as Eamon said. But you can go on the irishpodcastawards.ie. Here's what they look like. Lovely big microphone. That's the irishpodcastawards.ie. Nick, where can you find that information?
So it's going to be in our link tree. Well, it is in our link tree at the moment. So if you go onto our Facebook page or our Instagram or our Twitter and you just go onto our homepage, click on the link tree and click on the vote, then what you do is you search your Green Machine. Make sure it's us, because there's another Green Machine podcast in Australia, the Canberra Raiders. So make sure you're picking us. It's our logo, which is here. So the Shamrock. So if you click on that, give your email and then click into your email account and verify that you voted. And we've gotten quite a few votes apparently, so we'd like to keep a bit of momentum going.
Give us an award, because you think I'm bad now. I would be fucking impossible if we win that. So if you want to see that. Also, are we still in partnership?
We are indeed.
Yeah, indeed.
With Kit Launch.
Pop down to kitlaunchcork.com. That is www.kitlaunchcork.com. All you Man United fans, I'm sure tonight's United jersey will be available there at some point, so you can get that, get a little insignia on it, the scoreline on it. You love all that shit, Nick, don't you?
Yes.
If you want to get, they also do Irish rugby, as you can see, all that kind of stuff. And if you're cheap like us, not just Nick, cost of living crisis is biting everywhere, folks. You can get 20% off. Promo code, all capitals, case sensitive, Green Machine 20. Promo code, get 20% off. Give those guys a shout. They're based down in Cork, if you didn't realize, because that's actually the name of the website, kitlaunchcork.com. Also, we do have friends somewhere. We got Irish Football Retweets there. Give those guys a follow over on Twitter. We also have Pelicast, Irish Footy Blogs. They are friends of the podcast, and we're friends of theirs. And Nick even moonlighted over there as well. And also we have a newcomer, the Brandywell boy. Sorry, but I was supposed to actually mention this last week. Give him a follow over on Instagram. He does a lot of stuff there. He's Celtic, Ireland, and Derry.
Derry City, a lot of Derry City stuff.
Yeah, he's a good lad. They're all good lads, actually. And anyway, we're going to leave it there, guys. Thank you very much for joining us this week. We will be back at midnight next week again. Unfortunately, real life. It's real life, guys, isn't it? That's what we do. But give us a shout over if you want to listen to this live stream. The audio version of this will be available on the greenmachinepodcast.com. That is greenmachinepodcast.com. You can also give us a cheeky little follow over on Facebook, the GM Podcast. Give us a cheeky little follow over at lansdowneroad.ie. And do not use GoToGate. I haven't mentioned them for a bit.
Yeah, it's been a while, Dave. Been a while.
It's been a while. I have sort of got over it a bit, but they are still bastards. Do not go and use GoToGate.com, especially for any trips next year when we do get drawn and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, we're going to leave it there, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Nick, thank you for joining us. We'll be back midnight next week, and hopefully I'll get some sleep tonight, and during the day I'm probably be it's been a long hell day. And guys, thank you very much. We'll see you next week.